Welcome back to All About Winning Daily Fantasy Sports. My name is Ty Patton. The AFC representative for the Super Bowl will be decided before this game kicks off. In this game, the number 2 seed Green Bay Packers visit the number 1 seed San Francisco 49ers for a trip to the Super Bowl. The 49ers are a 7.5 point favorite with a game total of 46.5 points. This game kicks off at 6:40 p.m. Sunday. Before we unpack this game, I want to share the numbers that are fantasy relevant to the Showdown contest itself. There have been 129 Showdown contests during the 2019 season, including 8 playoff games. They break down as follows. These Showdown, just the Showdown contests through the regular season, there was 121. Of those 121 Showdowns, the average winning score was 132.10. The average winning captain score was 42.67. The Showdown, including the playoffs, the numbers are as follows. The average winning score is 131.89, and the average winning captain score is 42.92, less than a point difference on those when you add in the playoff games. Now, just the playoffs, the 8 games, the average winning score is 128.71, and the average winning captain score is 46.74. Since the captain's position represents approximately 32% of the average winning score, I focus a lot of attention to the captains. And just to take a look at those 3 categories, for the 121 Showdown contests, excluding the playoff games, the captain's position represented 32.30% of the average winning score. When you add the playoff games, the captain's position represents 32.54, just a 0.24 difference. And just the playoff games, the captain's position represents 36.31%, so like a 4% difference. So with that being said, the captain's position breaks down as follows through the 129 Showdown contests, and now this includes the 8 playoff games as well. The underdog running back has been the captain more than any other position for the winning lineup, 25 times for 19%. Favored wide receiver, 23 times for 18%. The favored quarterback has been the captain for the winning lineup, 22 times for 17%. Favored running back, 17 times for 13%. The underdog wide receiver has been the captain in the winning lineup, 16 times for 12%. The underdog quarterback, 10 times for 8%. The favorite defensive special teams has been the captain in the winning lineup 6 times for 5%. Favorite tight end, 3 times for 2%. The underdog tight end has been the captain in the winning lineup 3 times for 2%. And the underdog kicker has been the captain in the winning lineup 2 times for 2%. And the underdog defensive special teams 2 times for 2%. Now, I broke this down and combined it by positions, whether they were the favorite or the underdog, and it breaks down as follows. Running backs appeared in the winning captain spot more than any other position, 42 times for 33%. Wide receivers, 39 times for 30%. Quarterbacks were the captain for the winning lineup, 32 times for 25%. All others represented 16 times for 12%. Another number that's really interesting to me in the Showdown contest is the overall straight-up one-loss record of the winning captain's teams, and it breaks down as follows: the captain for the winning team, for the winning lineup, their team has a record of 92 wins and 37 losses for a win percentage of 71%. That means the captain comes from the winning team 71% of the time. And I broke that down by position as well. Running backs were 33 wins and 9 losses for a 79% win percentage. Wide receivers, 24 wins and 15 losses for a 62% win percentage. And quarterbacks were 23 and 9 for a 72% win percentage. Now, I also broke this down by playoffs so we could see, and then so we can compare the regular season to the playoffs. In the playoffs, through the 8 games, as I already mentioned, the average winning score has been 128.71. The one-loss record is 6 wins and 2 losses for the captain in the winning lineup. And the captain's average winning score was 46.74. It breaks down as follows. The underdog running back in the playoffs has been the captain more than any other position 2 times for 25%, and the favored wide receiver 2 times for 25%. Favored running back, 1 time for 12.5%. The underdog wide receiver, 1 time for 12.5%. the underdog quarterback, 1 time for 12.5%, and the favorite tight end, 1 time for 12.5%. As I mentioned, the one-loss record of the captain in the winning lineup is 6-2, and this is a win percentage of 75%. It breaks down as follows: running backs were 3 wins and no losses for 100%. Wide receivers were 2 wins and 1 loss for 67%. Quarterbacks were 0-1 for 0%. And that was Josh Allen, and the tight ends are 1-0 for 100%. Now let's take a look at the numbers in comparison, the regular season and the playoffs. Through the 121 Showdown contest, as I mentioned, the average winning score is 132.10. For just the playoff games, the average winning score is 128.71, so just a 4-point difference. The average captain score for the winning lineup for the 121 Showdown contest is 42.67. For the playoff games, 46.74, a difference of 4 points. And the captain's percentage of the for the winning score, what part does the captain represent in the winning lineup? For the 121 Showdown contest, it's 32.30, and for the 8 playoff games, it's 36.31, so a difference of 4 points. The underdog running back has been the captain in the winning lineup more than any other position through the 121 Showdown contest, 25 times for 19%. For the playoff games, the underdog running back has been the captain more than any other position, 2 times for 25%. So those are pretty close. And the second position is the favored wide receiver through the 121 Showdowns, 23 times for 18%. For the playoffs, 2 times for 25%. So those numbers are really close, and it shows you the underdog running back and the favored wide receiver appear through the regular season and the playoff games. Now, the one-loss straight-up record for the 121 Showdown contest was 86 wins and 35 losses for a win percentage of 71%. In the playoffs, the winning captain, their teams, was 6 wins and 2 losses for 75%. So a 4 percentage point difference there, so really close. And total position, running backs through the 121 Showdown represented 42 winning captains, which is 33%. And through the 8 playoff games, it was also running backs 3 times for 37.5%, a difference of 4%. Now, do these numbers unlock the winning showdown lineup between the Packers and the 49ers? Absolutely not. But what they do offer us are numbers that we can use as a part of our overall process when we're putting our lineups together. Some of the main takeaways is the underdog running backs appear in the captain's position more than any other position, whether it's the regular season or the playoffs. The captain comes from the winning team 71% of the time during the regular season, 75% of the time in the playoffs. So those numbers are pretty close in comparison. And the running backs, whether they're the favorite or the underdog, appear more than any other player. Through the regular season, it was 33%. In the playoffs, it's 37.5%. Now, I use these numbers as a part of my overall process when I'm putting my lineups together. One of the main things is with that win percentage. So the first thing I want to do is take a stand. Who do I think is going to win the game? From that, I identify how are they going to win the game. Is it going to be the running game, the passing game, their defense? Who are the players that support that theory for them to win? Then out of those players, I identify players that I feel have a path to be the highest scoring in the game, and those are the players that I target for my captains. And then I build my lineup around the captains with different correlations. Some of the correlations I use, if I have a captain or a quarterback in the captain spot, I want to use 2 targets in the flex spot. If I have a wide receiver in the captain spot, I like to have the quarterback in the flex spot. There's only one way that wide receiver scores, and that's if the quarterback gets him the ball. There are situations where they run a reverse or, break a long one for something like that. That's not going to be enough to win you a showdown contest. But that's how I utilize these numbers, and I build my lineups. Now, I always try to pick I try to go with 6 captains, 4 from the team that I think is going to win and 2 from the team that I don't think is going to win. And I just correlate my lineups. Obviously, you have to have at least one player from the other team. If the other team's going to be playing from behind, how are they going to get back in the game? Or how did they stay in the game? How did they get a lead? Sometimes it's not a bad idea if you have a quarterback in the captain spot to use the opposing team's defense. Maybe that defense scored a touchdown, a pick six, which would cause that quarterback to do more. So those type of things correlate, and that's what you want to do is correlate the lineup, build it to where it makes sense, and come up with the best possible lineup. I've never won one of these showdown contests. I have a really high cash percentage in them. I've been in the top 20 before, top 5. I play a head-to-head, 50-50, double ups. Some of the large GPP, I feel like I got just as good a chance as anyone else, and I take my shot at those as well. I'll play some of the 20 entry $1, and I spread out my lineups in different contests. In this game, the Packers and 49ers are facing off for the second time this season. In the first game, San Francisco won handedly 37-8. The 49ers were set up for their first score following a sack fumble, and the 49ers defense was able to hold the Packers scoreless until late in the third quarter, and then followed that score up with 46 seconds later with a 61-yard touchdown pass from Garoppolo to Kittle. The 49ers defense held Aaron Rodgers to 20 of 33 passing for 104 yards, and the two running backs, Jones and Williams, combined for 83 yards rushing on the combined 24 attempts. So the 49ers defense actually held the Packers under 200 yards total offense. Late in the fourth quarter, the backup quarterback came in for Rodgers, and I believe he threw for 15 yards, which sent him a little bit over the 200-yard mark. But for the most part, the 49ers defense shut down this Packer offense. Someone asked me about the video that I did last night on the 2 conference game that I was fading Aaron Rodgers pretty much. Now I have him in some lineups, not many. He mentioned that he was a Hall of Famer, and he had some good points, but and mentioned it being recency bias, but really Rodgers' numbers haven't been that great this year, and they've been leaning a lot on their running game. If they can get Jones and Williams going, that's how they've been winning the games. Going into San Francisco is not going to be an easy task. I know that New Orleans put up a lot of points against them. That's a different quarterback, a different system. And I just don't believe that this game is going to go that way. This is for a trip to the Super Bowl. Obviously, both teams are going to be up for this. There's no next week if you lose and you've made it this far, but somebody has to lose. And I just give the edge to the 49ers in this game because I feel like they have the better defense. Could Green Bay win? Absolutely. And truthfully, I want to see a Kansas City Green Bay Super Bowl, but I just don't feel like it's going to go that way. And I'm going to build my lineup around a San Francisco win. I think the captain will come from the 49ers. And this is first I'm going to mention some other statistics from that game. But I do feel like San Francisco has the edge at being at home with their defense, and they're going to focus, obviously, on stopping wide receiver Devontae Adams, who in the first game did have 7 receptions for 43 yards and a touchdown and a 2-point conversion, so he was their leading fantasy scorer in that game. 49ers pass defense is really good, so if Rodgers is going to have any type of luck, he'll probably have to go to his other receivers. And if they can get Jones going, that's probably the best way to move the ball against San Francisco to be on the ground. But as I said, I'm going to go with San Francisco winning the game, and I'm going to build my lineup around a San Francisco win. This is a lineup that I like, and I'll be putting in some contests. I like George Kittle in the captain spot. He's actually been the captain in the winning lineup earlier this year, and it was this game versus Green Bay. He had 6 catches for 129 yards and a touchdown, and one of them was a 61-yard touchdown pass, as I'd already mentioned. So I'm going to use Kittle. I'm going to use Garoppolo. I'm going to use the kicker. I'm going to use Aaron Jones, Aaron Rodgers, and I'm going to use the Packers defense. As I said, sometimes it's not a bad thing to use the defense against the the, the opposing captain. And the Packers do get pressure on the quarterback, and this could force some erratic throws from Garoppolo. This is his first shot at an AFC conference championship game, or NFC conference championship game. So if they could get pressure on him, this could turn the game in a different way. But I think Kittle will definitely get his targets. There is a path for him to be in the highest scoring. I got him matched up here with Garoppolo and the San Francisco field goal kicker. So I'm fading the San Francisco running game, which is probably going to be a little bit contrarian. A lot of people probably focus on the Coleman and the Mostert and the San Fran running game. They want to run the ball. But I think this makes my lineup a little bit different, and that's what you need in a showdown contest. And then I have Rodgers with Jones, so I'm covering my bases a lot there. I don't know that Green Bay is going to do a lot of scoring in this game, but these are two of the main players in their offense. And so I really like this lineup. I left 700 on the table in showdown contests. That's not a bad thing to leave money on the table. The average winning contest through the regular season was leaving just over $1,000 on the table. So I really like this lineup a lot, and I'll be utilizing it. Now, as I always do, I utilize an optimizer as well. And the main reason I use an optimizer is so I can see the different randomizations of the players that I like. I don't MME, meaning I don't put in 150 lineups. If I could, I would. I've said this almost in every video. I'm just not in the position to do that. So I hand build a lot of my lineups. But if I'm entering like the 20 entry $1, the 20 entry quarter, and I've run the optimizer, and then I sort it out by projected ownership and take out the highest ownership games, and then I just look at the various different lineups. If I'm playing a bunch of different lineups, and building them manually, I'm not going to see all the different combinations building that way. And that's the main reason I use the optimizer, because as I mentioned, I'll play the head-to-head, the double-up, 50-50, the smaller tourneys, the GPP, the 100-man, and spread out my lineups across those different contests. And when I set up my optimizer, I usually set it for either one or two unique players, meaning I at least want one or two unique players in each lineup, depending on what I set it for. Showdown, I usually use one unique. And then I set the minimum and maximum exposures. What that means is, like for my captains, say for instance, one of my captains was George Kittle. I set for the captain, out of 150 lineups, I want him to have, let's just say, 15 to 20% exposure. And I want Aaron Rodgers to have 10 to 15% exposure. And I want Garoppolo to have 5 to 10%. And then that's how I do my captains. I usually leave between 5 and 10% for the computer to do its own thing, so I can see those lineups as well. And it usually gives you some crazy stuff, like plug a really low owned player into the captain spots, so you can put a bunch of the top players in the flex spots. Sometimes that works out. Most of the time it doesn't, and it's always something silly. Anything can happen in a showdown contest. So I also set the minimum maximum exposures for my flex positions as well. And then I just let the optimizer run with the 150 lineups. Now, I very rarely get 150 lineups. Now, for this one, with my minimum maximum exposures and my captains, it generated 139 lineups out of the 150 requested. So the few times that I do get 150, that means I either got 150 on the dot, or there's way more than 150. I'm going to believe that there's probably way more than 150 that it could have generated. But on Showdown, I don't use too many rules. Unlike the main slate, sometimes I'll use different rules to correlate and stack and do things like that. For Showdown, I don't want to use too many rules. For this game in particular, I only used 2 rules, and that was if Rodgers is in the captain spot, I want at least 2 targets in the flex, and if Garoppolo's in the captain spot, I want at least 2 targets in the flex, and I didn't have any other rules. Now, I try to only use one of the 4 between the 2 defensive special teams and 2 field goal kickers. 1 at the most 2. Like you see in my manual build, I had gold in the Packers defense, so I had, you know, the San Fran kicker and the Green Bay defense. So I will use up to 2. I don't like to use a bunch of them. I like to use the kicker, usually from the home team or the team that's favored. The way I look at it, the team that's favored has a higher implied total, so they're implied to score more points. It just makes sense to use the field goal kicker from that team, and that's how I decide that and build my lineups. And kickers do offer a safer floor compared to the defenses, but that's just my preference and how I build my lineups. So, as I always do, I always share 1 or 2 of the lineups that was generated by the optimizer and share them with you guys. So, this was actually the very first one that was generated. It had Garoppolo at quarterback, gold, the kicker, in the flex. It had Emmanuel Sanders in the flex, and it had Deebo Samuel in the flex, and then it had Aaron Rodgers and George Kittle. So you got Garoppolo with 3 targets, no running game, and bringing it back with Aaron Rodgers. This would probably be even though it only left 100 on the table, it'd probably be a really contrarian lineup, especially with Garoppolo in the captain spot. A lot of people don't feel like he's going to be that high scoring, but you never know. And then to team him up with Sanders, Samuel, and Kittle. One thing probably for Garoppolo to be having a good passing game, that probably means that Green Bay's doing their share of scoring. So looking at this, I would probably want to, instead of Rodgers, maybe want to go with Jones. And I've done that in the past too, where I'll look at an optimized lineup and put my own twist on it. And I can honestly tell you, it usually never works out for me. But this was just number 1 out of 139 that were generated. And it left 100 on the table. So, you know, as I mentioned, the average winning lineup is leaving just over 1,000 on the table. That doesn't mean that this lineup couldn't win. I'm not saying that, but I mean, this was just optimized, and it's just a different look, and that's what you need in Showdown, is to differentiate yourself. So I'm going to show you guys one more that was generated. And I actually kind of like this one. You got Aaron Jones, who's the underdog running back. And remember, the underdog running back has been the captain more times than any other position, whether it was through the 121 Showdown contests or the playoff games, the underdog running back. Now, the running backs do have an overall win-loss record of 33-9, but the underdog running back has been a good pick this season for the captain's position. And it had the kicker from Green Bay, Crosby. It had Aaron Rodgers. It had the kicker from San Francisco. Sorry about that. Robbie Gould. And it had Garoppolo and Kittle. And left 200 on the table. And this was just another lineup that was generated by the optimizer. And I actually like this one. I mean, you got Rodgers with Jones, so that covers a lot of the scoring. You got Garoppolo with Kittle. You don't have any of the running game, which that could be contrarian in itself. As I mentioned, a lot of people probably have a lot of interest in Mostert and Coleman. Coleman coming off that big game last week. He'll probably be pretty popular this week. So there you go. That was generated by the optimizer as well. And remember, the reasoning for me doing this video and showing you these lineups isn't for you to take these lineups and go play them, or for me to give you picks. I just want to show you how I use the fantasy relevant numbers, how I correlate them, how I build my lineups, how I use an optimizer to build my lineups, and show you the different randomizations using those numbers. So I want to thank you guys for joining me. I encourage you to please drop any comments or opinions that you may have below. I try to answer them all. Please share this video, like it, subscribe if you're not a subscriber, and hit that notification bell so you get notified when my next video posts. I will be posting a video probably for the Pro Bowl game, and then I'll be doing some things for the Super Bowl, which is the week after this. Sadly, there won't be any NFL football next weekend except for the Pro Bowl game. But I might do a video on that, and I'm going to keep my videos going. Hopefully, a weekly NFL, just like a chat video or NFL news type video. But I will be doing the Super Bowl video, the Showdown, and that's the only thing they'll have for that game. So we'll do a Showdown breakdown and an actual Super Bowl breakdown video. I want to thank you guys for joining me this season. I'm going to keep this channel going. It's exceeded my expectations and grown. As I said, I didn't have the expectations for it to get this big this quick. I have 112 subscribers, so it's not like I have thousands, but it did exceed what I thought it would be. And I have a lot of viewers. And if you're not a viewer, please subscribe. You don't have anything to lose. I got some really good information. You can use it how you like, and it's free. But I appreciate the people that have stuck it out with me. I plan on making this channel grow. I'm looking into the NBA, Major League Baseball, and then obviously coming back with the NFL again next year. So thanks again to all of you. It's sad that the season's drawing to a close, but I wish you guys good luck. Be looking for my videos. You can also follow me on Twitter at Winning About. I post injury news, and that's another thing. Make sure you check the injury report at 6:40. It'll be 5:40. So about 5:15 tomorrow, 5:10, 5:15. They'll be putting out the injury report for this game. Comes out 90 minutes before kickoff. You always want to check the injury report, whether someone has an injury designation or not. You never know. Something's going to happen right before kickoff. Somebody gets a bellyache or the flu, or something with family. That happened during a Showdown in this regular season. Robert Woods unexpectedly was ruled out for the Rams, and if you didn't see the injury news and you had him in your lineup because he was pretty popular that week, a big fat zero, and you don't want that in Showdown or any DFS contest. So another thing, watch for the flash draft contest that Draftkings runs during the game. It's just an in-game version of Showdown. You'll pick 5 players, but they give you a choice of 3. And you have 15 seconds to pick one of the 3. And some of the players have multipliers. So watch for that. Say it's like 1.5. And if you're following the game, it's a fun thing to do. I have won some money, and I have won some of those. And it's just something to do while the game's going on. If you're looking at your Showdown lineup and it's not doing great, this is another way to stay in the game too. If you're not following the game close, I really wouldn't recommend it. But if you're watching it, it's just something to do. They do it for the second, third, and fourth quarters, the quarter ahead. So like during the first quarter, you'll be picking players for the second quarter. And they do it through the whole game. And they have, obviously, the one for the third quarter. You'll have the halftime to put in a couple lines. They have $1, $5, $10, $50, and $100. So it's just something to do. I just wanted to mention that they have that. They'll probably definitely have it during the Super Bowl too. They've had it pretty much all season. I noticed it about midway through the season. So, and as I mentioned, I have won some money. So I'm going to get this posted. Thanks again to everyone. My name is Ty Patton. This is all about winning daily fantasy sports. Good luck, and I'll see you again soon. Thank you.